Welcome into yet another episode of the Inverted Microphone. Here from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, we have a jam-packed show for you guys. Even though it has been an international break over the last week, it feels like it's been over the last month. We could get into that later, but we have a lot to talk about. The Premier League coming back. The Champions League starts next week. I'm Reese Goodall, joined by Joao Lara Jr. and Zach Durasic. Joao, we'll start with you since you always have more to talk about. How are you doing today, buddy?
Great. I think the international break has been great for some teams. When there's always footy on, it's always a great day. I'm happy to be here.
And then, Zach, go ahead and give me your one-word answer on how your day's been going.
Hey man, it's been great. I'm just glad to have club football back starting tomorrow. I'm tired of the international break. I think we all are. But yeah, it's a great day.
You know, Zach, that might be the longest answer you've ever given me when I've asked how your day is. So I'm proud of you for making that step forward in your career. So soft round of applause. But we'll get things started with the news around the Premier League. Mainly two pieces of news: Manchester United's goalkeeping situation, which feels like it'll never end, and the Liam Delap injury news. Start with the Manchester United goalkeeper. Bring in Lamens, send Lamens for 24 million odd pounds, and he will not be the starting goalkeeper for the Manchester Derby, which would have been a difficult match to throw him into, but seems like, at least for now, Bayındır is going to be the number one for Ruben Amorim's side, with Onana moving on to Trabzonspor in Turkey. What are your thoughts, Joao, on Bayındır remaining as that number one with Lamens being the backup for at least for now?
Well, I'm not against Bayern being the number one, at least for now. Obviously, it's not the ideal situation. Bayern, I think, has proved more than Ronana on many occasions. I think that the some of the qualities that he lacks is obviously that corner kicks, just being able to his ability through there. That's what I was trying to get to. I think that's where he lacks. But honestly, it's for the situation the United is in right now. I think that is the best that they can do. So it's not that bad essentially, but I think it's smart not putting Lamens into a fire, especially with the fan base that Manchester United has. I've mentioned this to Zach on many conversations. I really think that Manchester United has, unfortunately, one of the more passionate fan bases, which means that they will be very extreme. If Lamens were to go into this game, have a bad game, he would be he would be cooked beyond means. Don't mean to use a phrase like that, but I didn't. That's the first one that came to my head. So yeah, I think Bayern starting in goal, it's not the worst case scenario for United.
I agree with you in that sentiment. I think Reese and I discussed it last week how we don't expect Lamens to start right away, and especially with Onana going out the door, I wouldn't expect him to start right away either. Especially in a Manchester derby where he's going to see a lot of shots on target. I mean, Derby. He's seen a lot of shots on target in previous years, but it's just going to be different playing at as high a level as the Premier League.
And really, that is the main focus of why Ruben Amorim isn't choosing to start Sen Lamens yet. He's only started 67 total games with full first choice sides. Go ahead, do the 6-7 emote.
Joao, come on, come
Come
on,
on, Joao, join us.
come on, Joao,
67.
come on. There
67
you go,
games.
there
There
you
you
go,
go.
Joao.
And for a goalkeeper, that is just simply not a lot of games. You need to have get their footing early, but also you got to understand that the goalkeeping position is one that usually matures later. We spoke about that last week without you, Joel. Is that this goalkeeping position as a whole, stereotypically, you see guys having much longer careers, but also, they're entering their primes much later, 28, 29, when these guys are reaching their full potential. And as brutal and cutthroat as a league as the Premier League is, and as the position of goalkeeper is, where if things don't go right, people are going to get on you. It only makes sense that Sen Lamens just isn't the starter on day one.
That's correct, and I think that the only thing that should have Manchester United fans excited, I think it's the league he come from, the league he comes from. Sorry, I think that the Jupiter Pro League has really contributed to many great goalkeepers. Casteels, who plays for Wolfsburg, also Thibaut Courtois. Obviously, I mean, when he first went to Atletico Madrid, he was already a great keeper. Same thing at Chelsea. I'm really interested to see how Lamens were to perform at a team like Manchester United, and how sort of how much of a jump it is. Obviously, it's existent, but I mean, Belgium is known for making good goalkeepers, and we've seen it on many occasions. It's been more frequent than not. So I mean, it's a very interesting prospect to see how Lamens will perform eventually when he gets the nod to start for United.
And I agree with both the sentiment that both of y'all previously stated. And I think it's not a good idea to wheel out such a young player like Lamens. I know he's 24, but it's still younger for the position in front of a fan base like Manchester United, who you have to hit the ground running. Otherwise, you're going to catch scrutiny from not only United fans, but you're going to catch scrutiny from every other club in the world due to the nature of Manchester United.
I get, that really is the main focal point of why he is not starting on day one. Joao, you did mention there that the Jupiler Pro League is known for producing a lot of great goalkeepers. This past year, there's a lot of their goalkeepers have very, very inflated stats. Just for some reason, you see those statistical trends, and for some reason, random year, all the goalkeepers in the league took a massive jump, as my light flashes yet again. And, but you look at Lamens in that group of goalkeepers that had elite seasons last year in the Pro League. He had one of the more elite, on the, top percentile of how elite it was. Save percentage, 77.39. Prevented goals marked north of 23, almost 24. 0.35 prevented goals per 90. It is an elite metric that, you give this guy time, you give this guy room to grow, which really is, again, the main reason they are not starting, and room to grow is so important. But, to be honest, though, we've spoke about United's goalkeepers a lot on this show already. And, Bayern Deer, well, I have a lot of questions surrounding him. Joao, again, going back to what you mentioned earlier, the set pieces, the set pieces, the set pieces. It feels like every single time Bayern Deer's in goal for a set piece, he's picking the ball out of the net just moments later. Onana had similar problems. He was also not the best shot stopper. And to me, it raises a whole nother question is, why would United go for a goalkeeper who isn't necessarily not proven, but isn't ready for a Premier League football at this exact second, when you have quite a dire goalkeeping situation? I know Donnarumma was going to Man City pretty much no matter what, but there's other options out there in the world of football. That it's the biggest sport. To me, you got to find a more veteran presence in net, because that is obviously one of the things that makes that goalkeeping position much more comfortable, is when there is a guy that is older. When you have some of these younger guys, you get a little worried that they are more prone to make mistakes. To me, it feels like a mistake not getting a more veteran presence.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that statement. Now, my counter to that sort of is that everything in the game of football these days is a gamble. Everything is a gamble. If you don't risk something, you're not going to be able to win. This could be a situation for Manchester United where, who knows? I mean, what was the amount? 24 million that they invested for Lamens?
I believe so, yeah.
24
18 million actually.
24 million with add-ons in this day and age for a player is pretty good. I mean, it's not, especially with a team that Manchester United, that is usually paying on the higher side for more players. I think that if this is a transfer that sure is sort of risky, it is risky. If it doesn't work, okay, it's 24 million. Manchester United makes a lot more than that a year. That's it's gonna sound very bad saying this, but it's quote unquote disposable. Now, if it's something that ends up working and Manchester United have a great goalkeeper on their hands, I mean, they're gonna say, "Wow, well, look, they finally made good business after so many years." Now, I sort of want to go back to talking about Lamens and his stats because sometimes people get sort of drawn away by this, but especially with goals conceded as a stat, a goalkeeper is going to be good as his defensive line. For example, Andre Onana, after going to the UCL final, in my opinion, that year Inter Milan had one of the better defenses out there with the form that they played, with the cohesion, with the style of play and physicality that defensive line had. Onana necessarily, in my opinion, didn't face as many challenges as you would at a Manchester United. Now the problem here is Manchester United's backline. It's always inconsistent. It's always inconsistent. Some games they might play a decent showing, and other games they will have a disaster class, and that's gonna leave Lamens on many difficult one-on-one challenges. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Lamens is gonna be judged. But you also have to remember Manchester United defensively. It's very inconsistent again. It's like the stock market. Some days it's up, some days it's down.
That's an analogy there.
I think United going from a more younger presence in goal is kind of a signal of regime change. I think for many years before the Ineos regime, we've seen United go after players who are past their prime or in the latter years of their prime. And I think United are kind of almost trying, not necessarily a Chelsea strategy, but they're trying to start buying young and investing on these guys who haven't hit their prime yet or are developmental projects.
My issue with that statement, I'm not against that. I just think you also have to remember Manchester United back then when they were making those transfers with players that were possibly older or possibly, past their capacity. Most of those transfers that they spent big money on was with their sporting director, Ed Woodward. I think that Ineos has made some changes, some that are significant enough to have this Manchester United squad or Manchester United fan base content, but it's not necessarily incorrect what you're saying. I just wanna give some clarification there.
Going back to what you mentioned though about the stats, it's interesting because it's not like he faced a lot of shots. The shot facing isn't there. The goals prevented mark though is really where you want to look. It's the expected goals on target minus goals conceded, and when your metrics as high as is, that is something that you hang your hat on. That is an elite metric, and that is something that may not be sustainable, but it is certainly something that you will get a fraction of that, which you will more than certainly take if you're Manchester United. Moving on to another team that United has done a good bit of business there with this team is Chelsea. Alejandro Garnacho, we're not going to talk about him. We talked about him last week, but they just had some big news today that Liam Delap is ruled out until December. It's a long period of time. A couple international breaks in there, but it's not going to help them for that long. They've got Joao Pedro, who has shown his promise since coming in during the middle of the Club World Cup. But they're without Nicholas Jackson. They loaned him out to Bayern Munich. There is a buy clause. It could be ridiculous. It's a ridiculous loan fee as well. We spoke about that last week, so I'm not going to get into how just bad of a deal that was, but it's a bad deal. But it is worrying for Chelsea now, where as many forwards as you do, your depth all of a sudden has just dried up. They brought back Mark Yu from Sunderland. They had him on loan there. I think he played twice, and he's back at Chelsea to play. Formerly Barcelona. I mentioned Delap's out. Try and maybe shoehorn another guy in there, but right now your only striker depth is Joao Pedro, who you're counting on bursting on the scene, and Mark Yu. That is quite risky.
Zach, I'll let you take the reins on this one.
All right. Well, I think that it's let's not have revisionist history. Let's not envision getting Nicholas Jackson out the door was a bad deal. I mean, especially for the loan fee that they got. I don't think anybody should really, see it as a negative for Chelsea by any means. But I wonder if we do see Chelsea experiment with some other guys maybe heading up the line if Joao Pedro or Mark Gui doesn't live up to expectations.
Correct, but now Chelsea right now, if I'm not wrong, they're playing a 4-2-3-1. I think that was their last formation played.
Yeah, they've been running a 4-2-3-1
Okay,
this
they're running a
season, I want to say.
4-2-3-1. So let's say Joao Pedro goes out and Marco Yu goes out too. What formation do you guys see Chelsea playing? I know you guys aren't tacticians. You guys aren't those elite people running the business at Chelsea. But what do you guys see them running? And especially with the abundance of wingers that they have.
I don't know. That's it. It's difficult because you're putting yourself in such a difficult situation. I think always, though, the easiest solution when you have no striker depth is just move your 10 up and then play a false 9. And you move your wingers a little bit higher, a little bit more inside. So that might take some of their wingers away from, potential action. You need your wingers to do a lot of the bulky work. And, again, Cole Palmer could thrive in a false 9 role. My light, again, turns off. How many times in 15 minutes is this thing going to turn off? How many times in an hour? And it's back now. Brilliant. But again, I think the easiest solution when you have your number 9 go down and you don't have that much depth, stick your most creative player in there, let him drop back, let him take on build-up play. I mean, Messi did that. He scored 91 goals. I'm not saying Cole Palmer's going to touch 91 goals, but, it could be a solution that could work in the short term.
And I absolutely agree with Reese in that sentiment. That was something I kind of wanted to suggest when I was talking about finding another player to head up the line. I think pushing Cole Palmer further up the pitch would be probably the best case scenario for Chelsea. In a scenario in which Joao Pedro or Mark Gui go down, I think that would be the most reasonable, and I think Cole Palmer has the skills to sort of fill that role as a temporary replacement.
Now for Joao Pedro, I mean, I think this could be great for him if he's able to stay healthy, if he's able to go ahead and remain fit. This could be a big season for him if Chelsea, continues. I mean, they have a lot of potential. If I think Joao Pedro is better than Nicholas Jackson, obviously, and I think if he plays up to his potential, I think he could have a great Premier season, especially being, I mean, one of the only 2 strikers until December.
Yeah, and I mean on Joao Pedro, he's already shown his potential at Chelsea. Again, talk about the Club World Cup. He scored 3 goals in 3 games there. He's already got a pair of goals in the opening 3 games this season. I think that we'll finally see Joao Pedro's potential all come together this season. Where, when Watford brought him in from Fluminense, the expectations were sky high, and he never quite reached them in his 4 seasons there. 2 seasons at Brighton were rocky, and I think now Chelsea, with the squad around him, he's fully got the potential. I don't think it's potential really is the right word. I think it's ability, and I think this is a guy who honestly could break into the Brazil first team, as bad as the Brazil team is, to be honest, and no disrespect, it's just the fact of the matter over recent times. You're in a World Cup year, you could absolutely not just cement yourself in there, but make yourself the guy. You started last week against Chile in their 3-0 win. You got to take your opportunity and run with it if you're Joao Pedro.
That's correct, and thank you for correcting me there. It's ability, not potential. If he's able to fulfill that ability, if he's able to do that, once again, it's going to be a great season for him in Chelsea. I don't want to. This isn't the purpose of this episode today, but just scenes with Bolivia's last match against Brazil, I thought it was absolutely insane. On the topic of Joao Pedro and the Brazilian national team, did you guys get a wind of that at all?
No.
Can't say that I did.
So Venezuela needed a Brazil win to qualify for the World Cup, and they could have lost. They could have lost to Colombia and still qualified. Bolivia going in, taking care of business himself, 1-0 win against Brazil. Colombia beating Venezuela, and Bolivia qualifying for the What's the term? I know it in Spanish. I don't know it in English. It's like a playoff game for the World Cup.
Well, in fairness, the game was played in El Alto, and my Spanish is very limited. But what I do know is El Alto is the height, the tall, and that's 13,000 feet up in the elevation. 13,000 feet. I cannot even comprehend 13,000 feet. I've been to Colorado Springs, and I'd say hiked, but we parked at the top of the hill and walked down to a restaurant, and then having to walk up the hill. We were at like 7,000 feet there. I was huffing and puffing. 13,000 feet is twice that. I don't like. That's why Bolivia. You always see them win games at home. They'll squeak out a 1-0, then they'll go away. What's the reverse fixture? What was the score in the reverse fixture? Let's check. Because I guarantee you it was not 1-0 Bolivia. It was 5-1 Brazil. It's like the exact point. They are high elevation merchants, and I will not stand for Bolivia propaganda on this podcast. Anyways, moving on to the Premier League. It is back. It is back, Zach. I don't know if you heard, but it is back. After 3 games and an international break, Premier League's back. And, a lot of fixtures. Nothing really that big, except for the Manchester Derby. It's Derby, Zach, don't forget. But we'll get going with some of the more boring runs. Liverpool, 3 matches unbeaten. Haven't really played anybody of note beside Arsenal, which was one of the more cagey and boring games I've watched in my life. Now they play Burnley away. That is an opportunity for Liverpool to take 4 wins from 4 games, which when you're trying to win the title, the games in August and September, they don't really mean anything for the title race. But once you're in the title race, they mean everything. And again, a big opportunity for Liverpool to pick up 3 points.
I don't think there's much to say there about that match. I mean, it's just Liverpool's attack has been all-time great so far this season. Do we have any word on if Isak's debuting? I'd assume he would debut.
I think so. I haven't seen anything for against it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but I would have to imagine this is his debut, so all eyes will be on that match if Alexander Isak is playing his first match in a Liverpool shirt.
Now,
But
Sam on Sunday, all eyes will not be on that game. They will be shot if you at all.
now, I did want to ask too. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, we mentioned Liverpool and how we were weary sort of about their defense. I know it's 3 matches, but 3 matches in, how have you guys seen their defense? How have you guys? What is there anything that has stood out about Liverpool's defense for good or for bad?
Well, it's exactly what I thought it was in many ways. They're very bad in transition, and their center backs of Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate really do the dirty work in order to make sure they stay in these games. The Newcastle game, they did not look that great in. They were without Frimpong. As good as Szoboszlai has been at that right back spot, which has been quite shocking over these last 2 games, they just need to tighten things down when they're giving up these counterattack situations. The good news for them is last Premier League weekend, they played one of the worst teams in transition, being Arsenal. So they were able to not concede any chances of note. There are bit of worries with me on how Frimpong can play when he's actually the starting right back, and what will Szoboszlai will become there. But Szoboszlai has done a much better job at right back than I would have ever expected. I mean, I expected this guy to be a 10 or an 8 in this Liverpool team and be the not main attacking midfield, obviously that's Florian Wirtz, but one of the assisters in this attack, and all of a sudden they're deploying him at right back, which, again, such a shock.
Now, Zach, we sort of covered all the bases about Liverpool's defense. How have you seen Florian Wirtz so far for this Liverpool squad, and how do you think he's contributed?
I think Reese kind of summed it up with his facial expression there. I think Florian Wirtz just hasn't contributed at all. I think for a signing of his caliber, he's kind of fallen flat on his face. Which, to be fair, if you look at the levels of physicality and the open channels that he was able to play through in the Bundesliga, it's night and day. And I think one could have expected this. I'm very curious to see if maybe he catches that spark. Like maybe he gets an assist or he gets a goal. Could be luck, could be good, but maybe he starts to build confidence and start finding his footing in the league. But I think it could take some time. I mean, maybe this is a game where Florian Wirtz could show more of his potential against a lower side like Burnley. I'd really look for him to maybe do something this match.
Yeah, totally agreed. I mean, watching the first couple games for Liverpool, I'd say it was also disappointing. I mean, stuff that's already been said, and once again, I mean, you spend so much money on Florian Wirtz. I mean, hope you get the return that you expected, because it's been I guess subpar so far.
Yeah, subpar. That is the word to use there. Maybe his goal against Northern Ireland gives him some confidence, the mighty Northern Ireland. Looking at some of the other games, Arsenal play Nottingham Forest, which could be an interesting one there.
Will you be up for that match, Reese?
I will.
I'm not shocked because it's an Arsenal match, but in the same right, 4:30 a.m.
4:30, 4:30
First game
a.m.
under Ange Postecoglou for Forest. That is interesting. I think it's very funny that Forest, one of the best defensive teams in the Premier League, built on building in transition. Sit back, sit back, sit back, sit back, sit back, and sit back some more and say, hey, you're going to attack? Play a long ball over the top to Chris Wood. 1-0 Forest. And then they go out and bring in the manager who, under Tottenham, granted it wasn't always, but played one of the most risk-adverse and aggressive styles of football. Was it always the highest of lines? No. The stats also prove that. It was, I think, the 7th highest line in the Premier League. But the issue was, it was very risky in its depth. And I am fascinated to see how things work out in Forest under this Postecoglou reign, because it could be a dream matchmaking where you play this risky style of football, and then you've got this solid defense behind you. If not, you're playing this risky style of football, your defenders are getting caught out of place, you're not using them to their full abilities, and your attack isn't able to do anything. It could go one way or the other, and to be honest, I only seeing it being in the extremes with Forest.
I think that's correct, and I don't know how this squad is gonna react, especially with the pieces that I have. The squad, it's not the best, it's not the worst. It's just it's too.
It's Europa League level.
It's Europa League level. That's correct, and I just think that Nottingham Forest doing this change, I really don't know how to feel about it. I'm very torn, especially with everything that they built up, everything that they've done so far. And it's not the most impressive, right? But I was honestly a little baffled when I saw that announced.
I'm not too shocked. I feel like this has been building for some time now, especially with some of the actions we saw Forest take last year during a great campaign for Forest. I don't really understand the move. I can say that. I can't say I didn't see it coming, but I don't understand the move. I don't think Ange Postecoglou is a very good manager. I necessarily don't know if he's Premier League level, Premier League quality, and I thought Nuno was doing a terrific job turning around Forest, and I thought he had a very distinct style of play that worked at times in the Prem.
Yeah, I thought you had more to say, so I apologize. I agree with it, and I worry that Postecoglou kind of has that Ruben Amorim-itis, where it's, hey, I'm going to play my style of football, you're going to figure it out, where the elite managers get 11 players, get an 18 of guys, and say, hey, let's mold the style around you. I think that is what makes a manager elite, not building a perfect style of football and then buying the perfect players for your style. It's having the players and then building the style, if that makes sense. And it's again risky for Forest. Got a lot to play for this season. It's going to be interesting. From Arsenal's perspective, it's got to be a win. I think you just have to take advantage of these opportunities, especially when you're losing Big Six games, which isn't something Arsenal's done over the years, but really what has cost them at times in the title race over the last few years has been they're dropping points against these teams that don't deserve to take points off Arsenal. So it's going to be very interesting. Looking at some of the other games, there are a couple of interesting ones on Saturday before we get into the Manchester derby. Bournemouth, Brighton, South Coast-ish derby could be fun. West Ham, Tottenham, that one's interesting. West Ham actually announced that if you bring a half and half scarf into the stadium, you will have it confiscated off of you, which is good because half and half scarves are what, Joao?
Woke.
Woke, that is right. Brentford, Chelsea, could be tough for Chelsea, in all honesty. Going away to Brentford has never been easy. But let's not put it off anymore. The Manchester derby, Pep, Ruben Amorim, two of the greatest managers in world football. Last year, when United made the trip to the Etihad, 2-1 win right before Christmas, and a really mental game where United fall down 1-0 in the first half. They're down 1-0 the whole second half. Get a penalty, Bruno scores, and then Ahmad scores the weirdest goal. It's a Manchester derby, so again, anything can happen. The last 41 games, City have won it 19 times. United have won it 16 times and 6 draws. When you look at the success of these two teams in that 41 game time span, you wouldn't expect that to be as close as it is. And it's, again, derby matches can be anything. It doesn't matter what the 41 game sample size says. All right, someone's commenting about it.
All right. Sorry. I was doing my favorite emote, but
Really?
I
6-7?
it's up there. It's up there. But back to football. I think this derby is anything but a sure thing for either side, especially with Manchester City's form recent times. United is, Manchester United, possibly the most result to result club, one of the more result to result clubs out there. Who you never know what you're gonna watch whenever you tune into a match, and I just think this is gonna be a very interesting match from a standpoint of we don't know which team from either side we're gonna get. Are we gonna get the Manchester City that look like world beaters, that are high flying, that they're going forward, they're just ridiculous, or are we gonna get the side that lost to Tottenham 3-2? Or are we going to get the Manchester United who, lost in the EFL Cup?
So who? Who was that again? Just so remind me.
I guess going on and
It was Grimsby
just
Town.
continuing on
Grimsby Town.
could
Sorry. No, they haven't.
continuing on I guess both sides. I think that what Zach was mentioning, it's true. Both squads are very volatile. This matchup has never been a given for either squad. The thing that I've noticed with Manchester United this season is that they play to the level of their opponent, which in situations where they're playing against bad teams or teams that aren't that high of a caliber, they'll go down to their level. And when they play sort of those more important games, those teams with much more prestige, with some of the best players in the world, they've been able to keep up. I think that will provide for a great game. I think that this, regardless of the result, there should be some phenomenal football. Once again, it's a great matchup, and the only thing that has me intrigued with Manchester United, you have Mateus Cunha and Mason Mount out till late September. Mason Mount with a knock, Mateus Cunha with a hamstring injury. There's going to be some gaps that are going to have to be filled. You're playing Altay Bayindir, who, once again, aerial coverage, not the best. I mean, there's so many questions up in the air for Manchester United, and it's just, once again, I've repeated this a lot over many episodes, but this is a wait and see for Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m.
Oh, you have terrible Demi Cabral and Liverpool, but it's all right. Going back to your point though about how it should be an exciting game, it's always an exciting game. That might be the worst take I've heard in about 2 episodes. I don't know if you remember April 6th, 2025, at the
Wonderful establishment.
oh well,
That is
I wasn't
the
even
Georgian
I
Dragon.
wasn't even gonna get to that. I was just talking about the match.
Oh.
One of the most boring. And I say this a lot. I watch Phoenix Rising. So I watch boring matches of football. I can comment on what is a boring game and what is an exciting game. This game is probably in the top 5 most boring games I've ever watched in my life. And if I see something like that at 8:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, Arizona time,
What
we will be sleeping.
what I meant about exciting between both these two squads, I guess it's the names, it's a head to head, it's the
It's the brand name.
it's the hype behind it. Sometimes the football might not be as exciting, but I mean, uh, let's continue. Let's continue.
No, I prefer to focus on football being exciting or not. And unfortunately, I just struggle to see this one being anything where I sit down, turn on the telly, watch it, and go. And once the final whistle comes, I'm like, that's a shame the final whistle was blown. I wanted to watch more. I have a feeling I will be begging for the final whistle at the 53rd minute. But I could be proven wrong. So let's get into score predictions for the Premier League because we've got Champions League to talk as well. Score predictions. Arsenal forwards. Joao, what do you got for me?
2-1 Arsenal.
Any reason?
I don't know. I see this. I see this Arsenal squad. They have all the components. They have all the pieces together. I think that they go up early 2-0 and then Force just brings one back. I don't know. It's this gut feeling.
I see Aaron struggling in his first match back. I want to say 3-0 Arsenal.
I kind of agree with both of you. I just struggle to see Force scoring a goal. So I'll go with 2-0 Arsenal. I think Arsenal's defense has shown it's already one of the best in the Premier League this season. The only goal they've conceded has been an absolute banger from Szoboszlai, one of the best free kick efforts we've seen in years realistically. So this is a team that shouldn't be conceding. Non-Big Six game here, Bournemouth, Brighton. 7 a.m. kickoff here in Arizona. Beautiful state. Bournemouth been interesting. They had a bad game in the EFL Cup, but they played a good game against Liverpool to open the year and then have eked out 1-0 victories over Wolves and Spurs, of course. How did I forget that after saying that? Brighton, been weird for them as well. Fulham, draw, Everton, loss. But they beat City somehow. What are your thoughts? Zach, we'll start with you. You're under pressure.
I think Brighton win this game, or not Brighton. Sorry, I think Bournemouth win this game. I don't think Brighton is.
Under the pressure, heartbreaking.
I don't think Brighton is going to be as good as Bournemouth. I don't think they've been as good as Bournemouth this season. I don't think anybody could really say that aside from their win over City. I'm thinking of 2-0 Bournemouth.
Joel?
I really have this match as a 1-1 draw. I think that both squads, I think both squads they're very chippy squads. I don't think it's gonna be the most exciting game ever, and I think that's why I just give it a 1-1.
I'm going 2-2. I like Semenyo a lot. Semenyo's one of my favorite players in this league, as is Karo Matoma. They always seem to have something up their sleeves in terms of making the game exciting. Bournemouth need to show more attacking quality outside of Antoine Semenyo because there is a chance he leaves at any given moment. Because when you're performing as well as you are, big teams are going to take notice. So 2-2 is my prediction. Random one. Haven't addressed it once. Don't think we'll address it ever again. Fulham Leeds. Here's a test. Fulham Leeds. Leeds have been interesting this season. Their defense has looked good beside the game against Arsenal. Fulham, they're coming off a disappointing draw against, or not actually. They're coming off a disappointing loss against United, but before that they had a disappointing draw against United, where they should have won that game. They felt like they could have won that game. Frustrating game then for Fulham. What do you think there? Do you think Fulham can get their first win of the season, or do you think Leeds can keep going?
I think this match will be quite boring. I'm kind of predicting a low scoring effort. Regardless, I'm going 1-0 to Fulham.
I am going 1-0 to Leeds.
Exciting score predictions so far, man. I love it.
Terrible. You guys have done no research on either of these two teams. I think Rodrigo Muniz is a very fascinating player. I think he's one of the more hot and cold strikers you'll see. If Leeds start DCL, though, I just can't back them scoring a goal. No offense, but we're starting Dominic Calvert-Lewin up top in the big 2-5. If it's Felix and Mecca, I've got a different opinion. It's DCL, it's 0-0. It's in Mecca, 1-0 Leeds. And then Manchester Derby, City United. I think this one will be just a flat-out curb stomping. I think United will be completely ran off the field and made to look fools of themselves in front of the Manchester City faithful. I have City winning this 3-0 with ease.
Joao?
Yeah, I have Manchester City winning this match and ruining my day, 2-0.
2-0.
2-0, just 2-0. I don't see United there defensively, and that if you're trying to outweigh what is better, City's firepower, United's defense, City is going to win that matchup 9 out of 10 times. And I don't know. Manchester City has defensive woes, but even then, offensively, Manchester United's missing 2 pieces. And if this were a match for Benjamin Šeško to show, it could be it. City has had their has had mistakes defensively, giving up the ball or being careless with possession, but I don't see that happening at all.
Yeah, Israel, when you were going on talking about City's attack versus United's defense, I couldn't help but think about, the atomic bomb versus coughing baby meme.
Oh my god.
And I could really see that getting that ugly. On Sunday, I don't think United score a goal. I think City's defense is poor, but I don't think United score, especially without Mateus Cunha playing up top. I'm going to go 3-0 City.
Copying me, so if
It could easily be 4.
if it's 3-0, I get more points than you. Champions League. Can you believe it's already back? Feels like just yesterday that PSG absolutely demolished Inter Milan in the final. It doesn't feel like yesterday that feels like years ago.
Reese,
But-
can you sing the Champions League anthem for me at all?
Copyright. Sorry. Maybe another day. Don't want to get copyrighted. Champions League, again, Tuesday. First game, Athletic Club Bilbao hosting the Arsenal PSV, as well as same time hosting USG from Belgium. I don't really know what to think. It's match day 1. Arsenal in Spain, not really that great. By the Madrid second leg. Excuse me. I don't know how to make predictions on Champions League, but we'll go through the rest of the fixtures as well. Stop me when you want to talk and say something about any of these. Benfica, Karabakh. Anyone have any thoughts? No, didn't think so. Juventus, Borussia Dortmund. The Wash Derby, some are saying.
What song would you say this? Would you give it an outstanding?
Outstanding by the Gap Band. Dark Thoughts by Lil Tecca is a great shout. But this, again, is more outstanding by the Gap Band. You know, the Gap Band's tenacity in the final third. When they press Dark Thoughts' defense is why I got to go Gap Band. Real Madrid hosts Marseille. I know Zach absolutely loves Marseille, so I'm sure he'll be tuned into that one. Tottenham, Villarreal. I know Zach's also a big Villarreal guy, so I'm sure he's going to be tuned into that one. Olympiacos, Paphos FC is the first game on Wednesday. That's actually a fairly interesting one. Greek versus Cyprus. Don't know if they like each other. I think they do. I don't want to get into geopolitics on this show. Slavia Prague versus Bodo Glimt. Bodo Glimt, they're such a fun team in the world of football, aren't they? Ajax Inter, that could be interesting. Joao's clearly distracted by something. It must be just the enthralling nature of an Ajax Inter game where, Aaron Bauman and Branko Van den Boom and are out. Obviously, he's also excited about Wout Weghorst playing against Inter. You know he's a big Wout Weghorst guy. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. Bayern Chelsea, that's actually a big test for Chelsea in their return to the Champions League. Atletico Liverpool, that could be interesting. PSG Atalanta, former champions, former Europa League champions. Club Brugge Monaco, Copenhagen Bayer Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt Galatasaray, Manchester City Napoli, Newcastle Barcelona. I know that the Barcelonian faithful, the Catalonian faithful, are going to absolutely love their trip up to St. James Park and to the beautiful city of Newcastle, as coined by our good friend and friend of the program, Joao Lara Jr. And then this is actually another interesting one. Kairat Almaty. I actually know someone, another friend of the program, Owen Evans. He was just in Almaty, Kazakhstan. They're actually making the longest possible European or Champions League away trip to go to Sporting. That is interesting. Zach, do you have any games from all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many that I just mentioned? I clip farmed the 6, 7, so I apologize.
I figured.
What games just sticks out to you, Zach? Sticks out.
I think obviously Barcelona Newcastle is the game that everybody's going to be talking about. I mean, when you see a club of the stature of Barcelona traveling to the beautiful, wonderful St. James Park, I think you're in tune for at least some level of interest, of some level of excitement, and that's not very common in Newcastle, but.
Jesus. I think that game is actually not one worth talking about. Newcastle, bless their souls, without Alexander Isak.
You know which one is going to be worth talking? I think that Man City Napoli is going to be a banger of a game. The reigning Serie A champions traveling to the Etihad to face off against Manchester City. Scott McTominay making his return to the Etihad. I think it'll be a phenomenal match.
Too. Romelu Lukaku as well. I mean, there's just Kevin
the
De Bruyne
unction.
as well. How are we forgetting about Kevin De Bruyne? How on earth did we forget about Kevin De Bruyne for that long? Just beautiful, isn't it? It's just beautiful to see a very scripted Champions League fixtures where they're making all these storylines up as they go. But hey,
What do you mean? This is clearly a fair draw.
Oh, I'm sure of it. It's not like half the games you see have some kind of like, oh, that guy's going back to his former club. I can look through it. I can guarantee I can find one. Let's see. All right, I'm actually looking a little too far now, but I know there are some where it's like, hey, that guy's going back to his former club after quite a few years.
One game or another game that could be talked about, possibly Bayern Munich Chelsea. I think that'll be a great matchup. Same thing. Nicolas Jackson.
I don't think he's allowed to play.
Really? Was he not registered or was it?
No, it's usually when you make a loan, you don't allow them to play against you. I know it's a Premier League rule. I'd assume it's the same for Champions League, but some competitions don't have it. And if they don't, the team probably put a clause in. So Chelsea in this case. But yeah. So I just broke your heart into pieces, didn't I? See. Liverpool Atletico Madrid though, that's got a little untalked about. As bad as Atletico may be, which I don't think they're that bad. Who remembers when those two teams faced off in the 2019-20 Champions League? One of the most interesting games you'll ever watch. I think it was the last game before COVID shut everything down. Atletico won it very, very late on. It was something.
I think that game is going to be so boring. I'm sorry. This Atletico Madrid side, again, Diego Simeone,
Diego Simeone parking the bus from minute one doesn't enthrall you? The minute one parking of the bus with one of the greatest attacks ever assembled in world football on the other side.
Why? What are you playing for? Why?
Get the points. It works. You gotta trust. Simeone's the most. Excuse me. Simeone is the most successful manager in Atletico Madrid history. You just kind of, you got to do what you got to do. You know, I think Atletico Madrid probably shouldn't be spending or shouldn't be playing that style of football with the money they spend. Yeah, but hey, you're never gonna compete with Barca and Real Madrid, so that's life. Remember that. But who are our favorites in the Champions League? I know it's the league stage. It's kind of a dumb format, but not that dumb. I actually enjoyed it last season. Who do you have winning the Champions League? Who do you have losing the Champions League final?
So do you want a finals prediction or
Yeah, I was kind of
I
confused
literally
what you
asked,
said.
who do you have winning? Who do you have losing? That cannot get more clear. Come on, guys. Cannot get more clear. Who do you
Could
have
have said
winning?
it a lot simpler, man.
What do you want? Who will lift the Champions League trophy and who will walk by the Champions League trophy? Does that help you, Zach? Does that help you?
Yeah. You should have just said who's gonna be Trent staring at Madrid celebrating with the trophy. I would have preferred that.
Okay.
Well, I think it's obvious. I think PSG will be in the fight again to lift the Champions League trophy. They're up there for me, but I don't know. It could be Arsenal's year too. They could finally pick one up. I mean, I could see Arsenal lifting the Champions League trophy, especially with all the pieces they have. But I don't know. I think Arsenal is winning it. I think it could be there, and I think it could be an Arsenal PSG final. I think that would be very entertaining.
And you have PSG winning that final?
No, I think again. I
Oh,
think
you have Arsenal winning
I
the
think
final.
I think Arsenal has the pieces
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
to go on a run and possibly win the Champions League for the first time. And
Zach,
No.
I see your facial expressions. They don't look quite as
I-
emotional as when Joao said that Joao Neves could win the Copa Trophy, but they certainly look emotional. What's your thoughts?
I'm very intrigued by Joel's Arsenal pick and the fact that I just didn't expect it. I do have a lot of faith in Arsenal this year in the Champions League. I think having an elite backline and an elite defense is always something you could build off of. But I don't know if Arsenal are able to get it over the line. I think semifinals is kind of like bottom line or an expectation at this point for Arsenal in the Champions League.
Bless you, Joao.
thank you.
But my prevailing thought, I've thought about it for a lot. I just get the feeling that Barcelona is going to win the Champions League this season.
Over who? Who do they beat?
I'm gonna say Arsenal. I'm gonna say Arsenal make it. Repeat of is it? I was gonna say 2005 or 2006.
Well, 05-06 Champions League. Played
Okay.
To both your points, I think PSG, I think as good as they are, I worry that they don't have the 9 to do anything. I think that they kind of got caught out with the whole Dembele false 9. As good as it was, and as good as it was getting them to the Champions League final, we saw it collapse in a heartbeat against Chelsea in the Club World Cup. Barcelona, I feel that they are due. Feel's the word I'm looking for, is that they have the squad, they have the manager. I think this is the year for Barcelona to really, really win the Champions League, and I do have them winning it. As for who they beat, I mean, Arsenal's obviously, excuse me, a shout. Oh my gosh. Arsenal's obviously a shout in there, but I worry about what will happen to them in the semifinal, depending on who they play. The loser of the Champions League final in 2026 will be Man City. Give it to me. Lame, boring, feel that they get there. I think they have success in one of the Prem or Champions League. but I think it'll be the Champions League, and they'll come up just short. Barcelona over or over Man City. Book it, write it down, put it in the history books, and don't even check it.
Now, where do you guys put Real Madrid in this? Where do you guys? How far do you think Real Madrid goes in this Champions League campaign?
Round of 16. I don't think it's
I-
a mistake.
I kind of agree with Reese's sentiment. I haven't fully bought into Xabi Alonso's system just yet with the current players it has and the current pieces it has. And I could see the squad yet again falling short of Madrid expectations, which, I mean, Madrid expectations for everybody else is, you know, Madrid's a bad season for Madrid is everybody else's, dream. But I could see them falling short of their goals.
I can see this Real Madrid squad. Well, this is gonna be exaggerated. Or I think my reaction was exaggerated. I think this Madrid squad is out in the quarterfinals. Where do you guys put Liverpool in all of this? Obviously, they're going to be competing either for the Prem or they're going to want to compete for the Champions League. But what's the reality for Liverpool in the Champions League?
I think it's very matchup dependent for what round Liverpool makes it to. I think if they go against a side with a strong counterattacking, style of play such as Barcelona, I think you could see them go out relatively early. It all depends about where they match up with a side of that caliber.
I completely agree with that sentiment there. I think that's going to do it. I think we're going to be under an hour, which is rare. Unless you have anything else to talk about, Joao. You don't want to talk about Mazatlan Pumas at 8 p.m. today?
No, I think that game is. I think Aaron Ramsey might score in that game again. So brace for big news.
Who will die? That is worrying.
No, I mean honestly, I think it was a good episode. Tomorrow, Chivas America, obviously one of the biggest matchups in North American footy, if not the biggest, in my opinion. Should be very exciting.
But it's not the friendly that's being played in
No,
Stadium,
no.
which means it's obviously not on the same level. The friendly is obviously 10 times bigger than the league match ever will be, especially when it's played during an international break. Absolutely love that. For the world of football, we are going in the right direction. But I think that's going to do it. Joao, where can they find you on Twitter, Joao Lara Jr.?
At Joao Reports on Twitter, or AKA X.
Twitter.
X.
Zach Darasic, where can they find you on X?
You can follow me at Zach_Darasic on Twitter, not X.
You can find me at Reese11_ on Twitter, the app with the blue bird. It's a beautiful game, but it's even more beautiful. I really messed it up. Let me try again. It's a beautiful game, but it's even way more beautiful when Joao finally shows up. Good night.